There we go. Oh, got it. Okay. I don't know. I've never done a Facebook Live before, and there are no ways to um to trial it. Like, how do you trial a live? Because when you trial a live, people see you. So this is my first time. I can't tell if there's anybody here or not. I don't know, but please feel free to comment when you need to, and I'll just get started. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Anna. I'm also known as Anna DSLP. I'm a preschool speech language pathologist, and I've been practicing for, oh boy, I graduated in 2008, so it's been a while. And I have always worked with preschoolers, and I love it. It is my favorite thing, and I think in the online world, I'm definitely known for using play-based therapy with my students. So I'm just going to start off a little bit talking about kind of what I define play-based therapy as. So I define play-based therapy as therapy that is meaningful and motivating. So those are kind of the that's four. Those are the two words that I use to describe play-based therapy. So what do I mean by meaningful? I mean that it's embedded therapy is embedded into activities that the child does outside of therapy, so it makes sense to them. They're activities they can relate to. The words we're using are words that they, or the words that we're targeting are words that they use in their daily life, and that type of thing. And then as for motivating, what do I mean by that? I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, that the child's interested in what we are doing. So I reached out to the group and asked for a definition of what you consider play-based therapy to be. And I think that there's this like misconception that it's just like a free-for-all and it's not like real therapy. I don't know. But for me, I never really learned how to use play to target speech sounds in university or in my practicum. It was very much like discrete trials. So say a word, take a turn. Say a word, take a turn. Do something, say a word. Take a turn, say a word. That's what I meant. So and it's not that I'm against that type of therapy. It just does not work for my caseload, which is I work with preschoolers and all of them have severe speech and language delays. That's the criteria they need to get access to services from me. And then often have other, like fine motor, gross motor, and other areas of need. So anyways, so I'm just going to take an example here, like the game Snakes and Ladders. So kind of the way that I was taught is that you would have your stack of cards, your Arctic cards or your whatever cards, and you would pull a card, you'd say the word, and then you would take a turn. So you could be working on S blends, and in your stack of cards, you have the word spoon, spider, sneaky, whatever it might be. But I kind of like to flip it and use that same activity and just think of S blends. I'm using S blends as the example. S blend words that are going to occur naturally in that game. So snake, slide, stop, start, spin. There's no way that you're going to play that game without saying those words. So that makes those words really meaningful to the activity that you're doing. I hope that that makes sense. So it's just kind of, it's not really using different things. It's just kind of changing the way that we kind of think about therapy. So anyways, let's talk 4 tips. So four simple tips that I hope that you can use as soon as this video is done in your sessions tomorrow. So the first tip is using early language stimulating strategies, which doesn't seem like something you would do with speech sound disorders, but it really, really works to elicit those words in play. So some of our early language stimulating strategies, offering choices. So if you're playing with puppies, let's just say you have a small puppy and a big puppy, and we're just going to stick with S blends, you could offer those choices to the to the child, or a spotted puppy or a small puppy, whatever it is, and giving choices to elicit those words in a very, very natural way. The next one would be like filling in a blank. So doing something that is very repetitive. So it could be a song or a repetitive book, or even setting up a play situation that's very repetitive, like throwing balls into a bucket or whatever it might be. And saying, like, kind of making up a script like ready, set, go, and then getting them to fill in the go with using their G sound if that's what they were using. So kind of setting it up like that. And then the other one is modeling. So it's crazy. Like if you just say a word a bunch of times, most students will repeat them after you because they're like, wow, this lady really likes that word. Maybe I'll say it too. So let's say you're spitting a child in a chair. I've done that hundreds of times. Spin, 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 stop. And then they kind of repeat after you. So some of you might be thinking, and this is a question I get all the time, is, well, what about the kids who need help saying their words? I work with kids who need help saying their words all the time, and it works. You just kind of get into a groove of giving them the cues before they even try. So if you're giving choices, you could say, okay, do you want the small or spotted? Remember, when you answer me, remember your snake sound. Something like that, so that they are quite successful in their practice. So that is the number one way that I kind of get lots and lots of practice in play, is using those early language stimulating strategies. The second thing is having a master list of words. You don't want to go into, well, maybe you could go into your session and have no idea what words you're going to target. You want to make sure that you're choosing words that are appropriate for the child's abilities. So it's really important, but that's a conversation for another day. But I have a master list of words. So I have a master list of words that I use for phono, minimal pairs, and apraxia that I choose from. And they're in my TPT store if you're interested. And I find that those are the words that I use because, one, when I'm working with kids, I don't want there to be other sounds that they can't say in the word. So if you're working on ka and the kid can't say r, and you're working on car, I mean, you have to think if you're doing as much good, you're doing as much harm. So as forward as we're getting with ka, we're getting backwards with r in the long run. So I kind of have words that have early developing sounds in there and words that I use all the time. And using this kind of master list of words that you often use allows you to kind of just like have activities for those words. So I target the word puppy a lot. I have probably 15 different puppy activities that I could pull if I know that that's one of my words. And of course, you have to create specific words that are needed for your student. But again, it's a master list of words. That doesn't mean it's like you have to use these words. It just gives you an idea of what to use. Okay, third quick tip is make it work. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but I think that, like, well, at least for me, when I was in school, it was like, okay, you need to find an activity that is going to be perfect for this. And then you kind of go backwards. So you go words first to the activity. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But ideally, like just to save your prep time, is you could take any open-ended, and I say open-ended for a reason, activity and incorporate your words into them. So things like Play-Doh, I mean, you could target hundreds of words using Play-Doh, right? Like S-lens, squish, skinny, our roll, I don't know. Like, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but there's tons of different words that you can practice with those open-ended activities. So rather than saying, okay, I need to find a worksheet that has these words. And the thing with worksheets is often they're not words that are meaningful and motivating for the child. Not always, but a lot of the time, right? Or they have sounds that the kids can't say in them, which might not be a big deal sometimes, but it's something that I'm a stickler about. So, and then the last quick tip I have that will allow you to kind of work on your sounds in most activities is changing the name of the characters or the people, animals in your story, in your activity, in your game. So if you're playing with little people, they now all, and you're working on K, and G, also known as feelers. I guess you guys would know that. Sorry, I'm so used to using like parent language that I always want it to be parent friendly. Using feelers. Then now all of your characters' names are Cam and Gus and Mike, let's just say. And those are the characters you're now playing with. So, or the characters in the book, you can change the names. Hey, we're going to be really silly today. We're going to change all the characters in this book to these words or whatever it is. So a super easy way, and those words will occur really, really naturally. So kind of the key of play-based therapy, I guess, for me is just having words that naturally occur in the activity so that there isn't this like, why is she making me say this word? And your kids are motivated and engaged. Like we've all had the kid that's like, in the chair. Those kids aren't learning as much as the kids who are actively engaged in their sessions. So those are 4 quick tips. That's still 8, and I did that earlier. 4 tips. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will do a little shout out to myself, I guess. A lot of the set therapy products I have in my store are designed to work on a ton of different goals, TONNE, because I'm Canadian, a ton of different goals. So you can check them out if you need help with any of these ideas or strategies, or if you're looking for products and you don't know maybe which one you'd want to start with, please don't hesitate to message me. Yeah, I think that's all I've got. So thanks for hanging out today.